Hello, Haunted Family. Welcome back. Story 1. It seems to be me. About 5 years ago, I still lived with my parents. Our family went away to stay at my uncle's newly remodeled cabin on a lake in Wisconsin. There were 2 bedrooms on the first floor, and the loft had 3 double beds. My sister was sleeping in one room by herself on the first floor. My parents took the other room on the first floor. My little sister, myself, and a friend of mine slept in separate beds in the loft. Around 3 a.m, my little sister started to scream, calling out my mother's name in her sleep. She was trying to get herself to wake up. It was a dream. She kept screaming and crying. My friend and I could not wake her up. We were about to go get my mother when she just stopped. Her sheets were soaked with sweat. In the morning at breakfast, my father started to tell us what happened on the first floor that night. Around 3 a.m, he was awakened by a funny feeling. He said that the room felt cold. It seemed to be charged somehow. He said that my mother felt the cold as well. When he looked over in her direction, he saw it, whatever it was. It resembled a man, and from what my father tells me, it had a green haze to it. You can make out features like a beard and clothes, a button-down shirt, gaping holes for eyes. The torso could also be seen, but from their waist down, it was just a mist like fog. It seemed to be kneeling over my mother, just staring at her. My father was freaked. He didn't know what to do. And then, as if it could sense my father looking at him, he turned his head, looked at my father. At this point, he thought they would both be dead. Suddenly, it transformed fully into a greenish mist and floated down the hallway. They had left the door partly open. When it went past the nightlight, the light was blocked out. It made a shadow as it went past. We have concluded that my sister somehow felt all of this going on, but she doesn't remember the dream. That was then, and this is now. Not long after the event mentioned above, strange things started occurring in our house. The shower would turn itself on, and we would hear footsteps. The piano would play all by itself. Our pinball machines would go off and play by themselves. We knew we had acquired a new guest in our house. In the past few years, we have seen it. I have seen it. My friends have seen it. It has also went to visit my aunt for a week. It turned on her vacuum cleaner and did other things. There was an occasion where it threw darts at one of my friends. When he said he didn't believe and challenged out loud that whatever it was, make itself known. I moved out of my parents' house, and it followed me. I moved again, and again it followed me. There have been times in between where he stayed with a friend or stayed with my parents, but that's only usually for a few weeks. I live in a duplex now. It was living next door until my neighbors moved out. Now it's back with me, stronger than it used to be. It pins you down at night and tries to get inside you. I can feel it when it enters the room. I don't know why it likes me, but I would like it to go away for good. It is not a good house guest. Sometimes at night when I'm dead asleep, it will enter the room and I will snap awake. The room gets ice cold. My waterbed feels like I'm floating on ice. It pins me to the bed. It gets inside my head and I hear a loud buzzing sound. Everything goes fuzzy white. If I don't fight back, I'm afraid of what might happen. I recently told my girlfriend about it, and she's afraid of it too, but she hasn't experienced it yet. I really hope she doesn't. Story 2. Uncle John. I work a second shift job. I don't get off work until 12:30 a.m. I have approximately a 12-mile drive from work to home. I've always told people I don't believe in ghosts. Until I came face to face with one. I always said that these people who told real encounter stories were just trying to get attention. I've changed my mind. I had my experience 2 years ago. It changed my outlook entirely. I had just got off work, got in my Mustang to head home. It had been a normal day at work. At approximately 12:50, I leave out of town and travel mostly backwoods to my home. At this hour, I don't pass much traffic. I was driving along normally, listening to the radio, when for no particular reason, I happened to glance in my rearview mirror. I saw my Uncle John sitting in the back seat, staring right into my mirror. It scared me to see anyone sitting in my back seat, because I knew that there was no one else in the car with me, or at least there shouldn't be. I stared at him for a couple seconds in the mirror. I almost lost control of my vehicle. He didn't move or say anything. He just sat there. I looked at the road ahead and then glanced back in the mirror again. He was still sitting there. I looked ahead and then I locked the brakes, pulled the emergency brake, and jumped out of my car. I left the door hanging open, the dome light on, and I could see that there was no one in the back seat. I was almost ready to go berserk. My adrenaline was out of control. And then I realized I'd stopped my vehicle half on and half off the road. I was also in an abandoned area surrounded by woods. On either side of the road with no houses for 100 yards or more in either direction. After taking a quick look in the interior of my car, I jumped back in. I drove home as fast as I could. I didn't even glance in my mirror. My Uncle John lived only about 10 miles from me. I see him all the time. We hung out together. We got along real good. I couldn't understand what was going on. Finally, I came to the conclusion that I must have imagined it all. I'd never experienced my brain making an odd illusion before my eyes. That night, I laid awake for hours before I finally fell asleep. I planned to tell no one what had happened. They would think it was weird and that I probably needed help. I was awakened the next morning by the ringing of my telephone. It was my mother, informing me that my Uncle John had died last night at about 7:30 p.m. She told me that he had been in a motorcycle accident. He was out riding his bike, took a corner too fast, and lost control. That means that when I saw him sitting in the back seat of my car, he had been dead for over 5 hours. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. I saw him just as plain as day, sitting in my back seat. I couldn't bring myself to attend his funeral. But I visited his grave several times. And to this day, I've never encountered another event like this. Story 3. The Blue Flame. Up until I was 10 years old, we lived in an 1840s house. I know we had a couple strange occurrences there. We had this antique piano that sat in one of the parlors. When I was around 8 or 9, I heard music playing, obviously from the piano. My sister, who was the only one in the house that could play the piano, was in the room with me. At first, I thought it must be a figment of my imagination. In a house like mine, it's easy to get spooked. When we went downstairs to check it out, there was no one in that room. Of course, I didn't think there would be. Eventually, we moved. A new house in a new development. So you'd think it'd be fine, right? Not spooky. Well, we decided that we were going to have a seance. I know, not really advisable. We had a single candle in a crystal globe. Just a regular candle like you can buy at any store. We lit it with a normal match. We started the seance. We told the ghost to give us a sign if anyone was there. The flame rose and turned blue. I looked around and heard my friends gasp. One of them whispered, "Oh my God, look at the flame." It was a bright, vivid blue. A color pretty close to being royal. We began to scream. The 3 of us screamed our heads off. We only regained composure long enough to end the seance. We flicked the lights on, embraced each other until we felt a little bit less frightened, and swore that we would never have another seance again. Okay, is trying to have a seance like a rite of passage of childhood or something? I remember being about 11, 12, maybe 13, and all the girls in my neighborhood wanted to have a seance. For some reason, they elected me to lead the seance. We gathered all together in a field with candles, and when I asked who they wanted us to try to contact, one of the girls said, Johnny Depp. It was all I could do to keep from laughing, as I explained to her that Johnny Depp is still very much alive, and that we'd have to pick somebody who was deceased. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. Tell me your childhood seance stories.